Chris,
to
are
be
you,
here.
are you surprised by the Spurs win?
No, I'm not surprised at all. And Skip knows on our previous network, I was counting out the Spurs way back in 2009, saying they were old and they were done. So I've learned my lesson never to count them out. Seriously, a Greg Popovich team, I won't count them out. And that goes for if Tony Parker is out. I still give them a shot to win this series. They're 23-6 without Parker the last 2 years. We know they're 7-1 without Kawhi this year.
Right.
So for them, it's always next man up. They'll miss Tony because he's outside of Kawhi, he's that only guy that can really get inside the paint and create for himself or other players. So they'll miss that. I think you'll see the ball in Kawhi's hands more, which you've already been seeing. Yeah. And he's been making some plays, getting more assists than he had in the past. Jonathan Simmons, I don't know if you'll see him anymore. He's already playing about 20 minutes a game. But DeJounte Murray, who's not a great shooter, but he is long, he's athletic. Maybe he can guard the perimeter a little bit better, too. So, look, I thought they made good adjustments. They played with more energy. They ran the Rockets off the three-point line a lot more. They took 53s in game one, 34 last night. And they don't like taking two-point shots unless they're layups. Yeah. So they figured some things out. I think it's going to be a great series, even if Parker is out.
I have tried to warn both of you over time that no team in the playoffs, in the history of the playoffs, can look so bad one night, look so old, slow, unathletic, and boring, and flip a switch by making adjustments and somehow just taking the energy up, the will and the skill up. And they lost the first game by 27 and played the worst defense I've ever seen them play. They were not ready for the game. And I swear, I'm standing by what I said. They did not take the Rockets very seriously. They had beaten the Rockets the last 3 times they played them in the regular season, and they lost the first game to them out of the 4 by 2 points. And Kawhi had a last shot to tie the game and missed that one. But that was early in the year. So they're looking at the Rockets as a team that doesn't play any defense, and it took it way up on defense in game 1. So they got shocked, and they got rocked, and they got embarrassed. And no team that I know of has better bounce-back character than the Spurs do because they know how to do it. They go back to the drawing board. They say, okay, maybe we should start Gasol. They always make one big key lineup switch, and then they'll play different lineups. The most devastating lineup last night was, unfortunately, Tony Parker with Patty Mills with Ginobili. So they played 3 guards, and LaMarcus Aldridge, this is what's devastating to me, beyond obviously Tony's just horrible news. It looks like he's gone, but LaMarcus Aldridge has lost his way. And I don't know if he's pouting because he's not the man anymore. This became Kawhi's team all year, and maybe he just decided, okay, let him do it. I'll just stand over here in the corner.
That was part of why he was unhappy in Portland.
Yeah.
Because he felt Lillard was
that is correct. Yep. And so he has some of that going on. And I still like him personally. I think he's got a good heart to him. But he's not the man type. And they tried to make him the man last year, and it failed miserably. So now he's lost his confidence, and he's lost his shot. He used to make that little 15-foot open shot like in his sleep, like it was a free throw. And now he misses the rim sometimes. I have no faith it's even going to hit the rim. So they're doing this without him. And this year he became their rim protector and their number 1 rebounder. Last night he got his hands on balls and couldn't hold on to them because he's out of it. So they're doing this in spite of no LaMarcus Aldridge. So it's basically Kawhi or bust on offense to me. They get a little spark from Patty. They got a good spark from Ginobili last night. But Tony Parker was really good. He scored 18 points. And I know you think we were talking about this earlier, you think he looks done sometimes, but every once in a while, he'll have one big game where you say, wow, there he is. But again, I'm not going to write them off because he can't play, because I think they can be pretty good without them. And after he went out, they just ran away with the game. And I thought maybe Houston would creep back into the game when he went out. Nope.
Skip, you say something very interesting, and Chris touched on this. LaMarcus Aldridge leaving Portland to go to San Antonio because this wasn't the Kawhi that he thought would be.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at Kawhi's first four years, there's no way you saw this coming. And I say this all the time. Sometimes you can make your destiny on the very road you took to avoid it. Now, Greg Popovich told him that Tim Duncan is getting ready to retire. We see you as being our big guy. Our Tim Duncan is going to be your team. Now, he went away because he didn't want to be second fiddle because Dame was coming.
Yeah.
Dame is a budgeting superstar.
Sure.
And he goes to San Antonio, and lo and behold, Kawhi happened. And I agree.
They didn't see it coming.
No,
because they
no.
thought it was going to be LaMarcus's team.
Exactly.
He was
And
the prize
remember,
of free agency.
It was up until midway through that Oklahoma City series last year in the second round.
Yep.
We had 38 and 41 in the first two games. By the way, they blew out Oklahoma City by 32 in game one.
Right.
And then lost 4 the next 5. So you can't jump to these huge conclusions off one game.
Right. But when you look at it, can they win this series? I believe they can win this series, but they're not beating Golden State. They weren't beating Golden State with a healthy Tony Parker. But I give Pop credit for making these adjustments, going to Pop with Pau Gasol, who hadn't started since January. They dominated the boards. And when the shots aren't falling and you're giving the San Antonio Spurs 2 and 3 cracks at you, you're going to lose those games. But the biggest key, James Harden. Now, maybe that ankle is more banged up than what he's telling us, but his last 4 games, he's shooting 31% from the floor, 19% from 3. The best player on your team can't be the 4th leading scorer and be the team that won 60 games in the regular season. That's not going to happen.
Look, as great as Harden was in the regular season, for all the talk about Westbrook didn't do it in the playoffs, Harden's got something to prove too.
Yeah.
Whether they win the series or not, because most people thought the Spurs would win it, but he hasn't been great in the playoffs.
No, he hasn't.
His first finals, now he was young, but he didn't do much against Miami. Remember, against Golden State a couple years ago, had a chance at the end of a game,
he lost
dribbled
the ball.
off his leg. And then when they beat the Clippers, when they came back from the 3-1 deficit, they made that run in Game 7 without him, when he was on the bench. So he's got to step up.
So, bottom line, my favorite player on the Spurs has always been Patty Mills. And Pop has fallen out of love with him over the last 2 years because he cannot defend point guards in the West. But he is a spectacular scorer. So I am hoping he's going to get another shot as the starting point guard and be out of the doghouse now where he's just unleashed. And if you remember 3 years ago when he emerged on the scene, he exploded on the scene. And he was scoring, he had a stretch where he scored 18 in the fourth quarter at Charlotte, 16 in the fourth at the Clippers, and 13 in the fourth at Portland. And they came back and won all 3 games just because of him. He's only 5'11", but he's got a little bit of Isaiah Thomas type fourth quarter scoring.
He reminds you of old, and I don't know how many people that our listeners at home will remember Benny Johnson of Detroit.
Yeah, he does.
They put him in the game, and they put them a high pick and roll with Lambert and Mahorn, or they're running him off screens, and that's what Patty Mills is. He can get buckets in a hurry, but in the West, you look at the point guards that you got to defend, and he's at a decided disadvantage because if you can't. It's hard to slow those guys down because you go Dame, you go Steph, you go Harden, you go Conley, you go Russ. Where you going with Patty?
Okay, but you can defend Patrick Beverly with Patty Mills.
Yes.
He can hang in with it.
Yes, because Beverly is not looking to get his own shot. He'll shoot the spot up 3, and then occasionally he can get to the basket, but he's more of a guy that's not looking for his shot. He's a very good on-ball defender, and if you leave him open, he can hit the 3. So Patty can guard him. That's a great matchup. So, but I don't think he'll start. I think he keeps Patty Mills in his role, is coming off the bench, and I believe Murray will be the starter.
That'll be interesting. Don't you think we'll see more of Kawhi almost playing kind of like LeBron?
Yes.
I said that to him earlier.
And Mills is a great shooter, so they'll kind of spot him up and see if he can hit his 3.
And listen, Ginobili can still, every once in a while, he makes 2 or 3 plays. He sparked that run early in the fourth.
Well, he got that rebound and made that great touch pass to Aldridge or Dedmon. And Duncan got the crowd right back in the game, and it was over from there.
Skip, I think it seems like you've talked some sense into both of them.
It sounds like
he's back picking the Spurs in 7. Chris is.
He did.
Just
Are you
relaxed,
sticking
no
with
worries.
Houston?
I don't remember any of that.
You don't.
Of course not.
Chris going back to his college
I think I'm going with the Spurs.